My name is Raffaele Marcellino, also known as Ray. It's been a long career of balancing composition and education, mainly, and it's a tonic that I can't do without. When it comes to the process of composition, it's a bit like George Bernard Shaw. The golden rule is there's no golden rule. You develop technique, and being trained in the conservatoire tradition, it was always an importance to develop technique so that when you define a compositional problem, you can actually tackle it in a systematic way. Sometimes composers can get too systematic. I'm not big on holding to systems. You know, we all tried 12-tone music and serialism, and we got over it. Most of us. I did. But there is something around having the right technique. One, you don't get writer's block. There's always a way of writing your way out of any challenge, problem, the way you define it. But it is according to each context. What's more important for me is how I derive meaning in the particular piece rather than a system. I've learned to be more reflective but productively critical, because that is, again, an impetus to keep writing. You think, did I capture what I was intending? Did it work for me? If it didn't, the answer was write more. And so it's important you do reflect on that. Sometimes even disasters there's some pieces that I just consider absolute dogs, but I keep them where I can see them, because you've got to be reminded of that. That's where I learned that the failures of some ambitious pieces. There was an orchestral piece once. Looking back on it, it was its intention was interesting, but the execution just fell over, and for a whole range of reasons. And sometimes it's the things about letting the demons get a hold of you. You sit down there and you're thinking, oh, I've got to write this. This is going to be a fantastic piece of music, rather than being true to writing what the music is supposed to be, and then that distorts it, and so it's not as satisfying as it should have been. I'm inspired primarily by literature. It's one of the biggest drivers for me. So it's either literature or mythology. So mythology usually finds its voice through literature. Very strong. Early in my career, encountered semiotics. So Umberto Eco, French writers. It was the 80s, that's when they made up postmodernism, and it's something that's just stayed as a theme throughout my entire career. I suppose it's been a long journey to find style. A composer's style is, it's a bit like culture. It's how you do things. And so I went to a composition school, Sydney Conservatorium, where there was more emphasis on us embarking on that straight away. And in fact, it was very explicit. People like Graham Hare were less concerned with us imitating other writers. There weren't exercises where we imitated people. Same Richard Vella, Bozadar. They were a very diverse group. Gillian Whitehead, Martin Wesley Smith. So we had this very diverse group of composers as role models. And so there was this idea that you tried to find your voice. There was when I was there was a big interest in European music amongst some of us, people like Ferneyhough and Donatoni, Chelsea. This was something that was sort of fascinating to us. Graham brought more of the US, same with Richard, more US influence. So we had the benefit of Australia being a bit of a melting pot. So for style, you write, and then you keep writing, and you reflect back on it, and then you say, that's a style. So it's a bit like a career. It's not something you plan. It's something when you look back over and say, that's my style.